Hello, everybody. Tonight we're going to talk about school culture. I have been on a culture kick because you all know during the month of October is when, even if you have a top tier culture or you have a tolerable culture, things can go left during the month of October. So that's why we're going to talk about culture because as you all know, this is if you know the phases of the school year, it kind of we have this dip that happens during the month of October. All the excitement and the giddiness from the beginning of the school year start to, settle down, and some of our teachers start to get a little restless. The leaders are getting restless. The kids' behavior start to take a shift as well. So I figured that this is the perfect time to bring us back into what a top tier culture really looks like and to help those that are school leaders or aspiring school leaders prepare themselves on the shift before we wrap up semester one. So, for those of you that I have not formally met or you're new to my community, welcome. My name is Shanavia. I'm fondly known as Principal Patterson. I'm a former principal and award winning principal here in the state of Michigan. I'm now a consultant and an executive coach for educators, helping principals create culture, retain their teacher, and then transform their school. So, that is what I do now. If I haven't met you before, hello, welcome. Tell me, are you a current leader, aspiring leader? Tell me a little bit about you because my community is a mixture of those. Most of the principals that I support are in their first 5 years. And then there are also some aspiring principals, new assistant principals, or assistant principals that are in their first 5 years as well. So I kind of help you along your entire leadership journey, whether you're ready to transition into school leadership or you're already there and you're like, well, wait, they didn't teach us this in our leadership prep classes. My fellowship didn't provide all of this support. They didn't tell me that adults was going to actually push back a little bit. So let me know. I absolutely love doing what I do now. I really do. I love being a principal. I have to be honest, being an assistant principal was probably the sweet spot. I enjoyed that as well. I've been an instructional coach. I'm a former middle school ELA teacher, so I have served at every level of leadership. When I transitioned out of the principal role, I became a director of schools here in the Detroit area. So I had a portfolio of schools that I supported, of principals. And then the pool just continued to grow, and I kept getting pulled outside of Michigan. So a lot of the schools and districts that I partner with, I have to travel to get to, and I love it. And I support those principals that are in their first 5 years to help them navigate that leadership life. And my philosophy is year one, you learn. So, those of you that are in year one, this is your year to learn. Year two, you grow. Year three is your go year. And then four and five is where I help you sustain it. And we see bumps in the road along the way. And there's your first 5 years are so important. And so that's what I do. I help aspiring and current leaders navigate the nuances of being in leadership. So let's talk about culture tonight. So I believe culture is in three phases. And those three phases, you are either in a toxic culture, a tolerable culture, or it's top tier. And you could be at any of those phases throughout one school year, honestly. But I know most of the principals and assistant principals that I support, they usually can put themselves in one of those categories. And I did a poll this past week, or it might have been even yesterday, asking a lot of the leaders, where do they feel their school is? A lot of teachers as well. And there was a nice mix of toxic and tolerable. And I'm going to talk about both of those, but ultimately, you want to get to the point where you have a top tier culture. But I've come to realize that some people have never experienced it. So you don't know how to, one, curate it, and two, what it actually looks like and feel like and sound like, and what are the behaviors behind a top tier culture. So let's start with toxic, which is the most obvious. And I've come to realize that some leaders don't realize that they have a toxic culture, which is very unfortunate. But if you're dealing with any type of conflict in your school, where there's this us against them energy in your school, that's a toxic culture. If your behaviors are all over the place of your students, you have a toxic culture. And let me give my disclaimer. I am never one that call people out. My job is to call you in. so that we can make some adjustments so that you can be better in your role, so that you can love doing what you're doing. Other characteristics of a toxic culture that I've seen is where the leaders don't get support from their central office. That can lead to a toxic culture because they don't have any guidance or direction. Leaders that don't eat their lunch. If you don't eat your lunch every single day, you might have a toxic culture. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. But when we have schools that have this toxic culture, the leaders are in firefighter mode. They're just putting out fires all day long. And that is what actually creates this burnout, this resentment of being a school leader. And I don't ever want leaders to feel like they can't love what they're doing. I mean, we're here to serve and we're in the people business. So if you don't really like people, I don't know how effective you're going to be as a school leader because it requires you to interact with people on a daily basis. Now, that does not mean that the people have to be nasty towards their leader either. I don't recommend that either. But we work with people, and it's our responsibility to hone in on who are the people in our schools so that we can better serve them. So when I look at culture, there's three phases of culture. You have your toxic, then your tolerable, and then your top tier. But within each of those phases, there are four dimensions. And see, this is what they don't teach in our principal prep or our AP, preparation program. They don't teach us these skills that you must have in order to be a high performing school leader, in order to create a top tier culture. And I can speak from experience. For those that don't know me, it's not that I'm creating this off the top of my head. No, I was responsible for turning around a school that was about to close in the city of Detroit. It was that bad. That bad. They were like, this is the worst school in this ghetto area, this zip code. It was bad. And within 3 years, my team and I transformed the culture first. Then we tackled the academic side because our kids were about 2 to 3 grade levels below as well. So what I'm sharing with you are the things that they don't necessarily teach you, that you have to learn on the job training, as they call it, once you actually experience it. But I'm here to help you be a little bit more proactive so that it doesn't shock you, one, and it doesn't scare you, to enjoy being a leader or actually pursue this career. So when I talk about the three stages of culture, toxic, tolerable, or top tier, within each of those stages, there are four dimensions. There are four dimensions that you have to be aware of as you're curating culture, as you're trying to create a healthy culture in your school. So the four dimensions are the people, the place, the performance, and the purpose. Those are the four dimensions of culture. So when you think about, man, we have a toxic culture and we need to change it, we need to change the culture. And a lot of times you hear that, you'll go to conferences or summits and they'll say, yeah, you just need to change your culture. You need to transform. But no one tells you how to do it. No one tells you how to do it. And I believe I don't just do theory. Like I want you to practice. I'm gonna give you something to actually do so that you can see some shifts and changes in your school. So when you think about those four dimensions, so if you're in a situation where you're like, you know what, I can admit that my culture is not the best. It's a toxic culture. We have a lot of new teachers who are just unhappy. We have a lot of seasoned teachers who kind of go against the grain, or they're resistant to some of the changes or the initiative that I'm trying to bring about. The behaviors, parents are running amok, whatever. Been there, I've experienced that as well. But when you really want to transform your culture and move it from being toxic to tolerable, you have to look at those four dimensions. Who are the people? Remember, that's the first one. The people. Who are the people that are creating the toxic environment? And when you think about, I created a teacher retention triangle. You have 3 layers of people in your schools. You have your rocks, you have your resistors, and you have your people that are just reserved. Usually, if you have a toxic culture, you have a lot of resistors on your team. A lot of resistors. But it's important for us to understand why they are resisting. And you can't know why they are resisting until you get to understand their personality profile. You got to know the science of adult learning. You have to understand the person to understand why this person is creating this toxic environment in our school. So that's the first dimension, is who are the people? And then once you know the people, then there are things that you can do based on who they are, based on their personality style, how to communicate with them, how to motivate them, understand what stresses them out. I honestly do not believe that we have teachers that come to our schools, and I could be wrong, but I would hate to believe that we have teachers that come intentionally to be nasty. I just hate, I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that. And if you're the leader of the school, or you're the assistant principal, or you're the middle leader, you got to wrap your arms around the person of trying to understand if they are part of the reason the school is toxic, is getting to know who they are and the why behind it. What are they afraid of? And I can tell you that based on their personality profile. But there's a way to communicate even with people that may not even know that they're toxic. They may not even know. So, who are the people? Next is the place. What is it about the place, your place of learning, that's creating it to be a toxic culture? What is it about the place? Have you ever walked into a place and you knew immediately, I don't want to spend my money here. I don't want to stay in this hotel. I don't want to, whatever it is. You don't want to patronize a specific business or something. It's just, you know how you say, it's just something about them. It's just something about that place. Your culture speaks whether you know it or not. It's like this invisible hand. It's this invisible hand, but it speaks. What is it about the place, the environment, that's creating a toxic culture? Is it because there's the color? Is it the bulletin boards or the writing? Or is it the scent? What is it about the place? And I can speak from experience. When I became a principal and I was inheriting a toxic culture, it was dark. It was gloomy. I didn't want to be there. No wonder no teachers are staying here. It wasn't welcoming. And just to be clear, culture is not something that you could just say, this is, our culture is the mission statement that's on the wall, or the culture. No, it's about the shared beliefs that you all have. And there are some intentional things that you can do that you have to create it. But the place is a dimension of culture. So we have people, you have place. Next is performance. What is it about the performance of the people, of the stakeholders, of the students, that's causing it to be toxic? Think about the performance. Because oftentimes the finger is automatically pointed at the leader, that's what happens. We're responsible at the end of the day. But what about the performance of others? And in order to shift performance, we have to hold people accountable. And oftentimes that's the root of a school becoming toxic. Because we're not holding people accountable. We want to rub their back. We want to people please, and we people pleasing them to a toxic environment. That's what we're doing. And then lastly is the purpose. Like, are you really clear on the purpose of you and your role as the leader, as a building leader, as an assistant principal, as an instructional coach? Are you clear on your purpose? And this is not that, know your why type thing, but your purpose. Like, have you already thought through? June of 2025, I asked each one of my clients this at the beginning of this school year. Let's talk about June of 2025. They like, Patterson, what? June? We trying to get school open. I get it. But if you're not forward thinking to June, what do you want your teachers to say about your leadership in June? What do you want the parents to say about your leadership in June? You got to know, that's what I mean by the purpose. And when you know that and you lean into that, it shifts the culture. So let's talk about that, the second phase of culture, the tolerable. Because I have a lot of people that say, you know what? My culture isn't toxic. It's tolerable. I want you to think about that. And some people are like proud of it. Like, it's tolerable. I can do it. Would you want to be with somebody that just tolerates you? I just tolerate her. I just tolerate him. No, no, it's not okay. What happens if you have a tolerable culture? That means things are not, the leader is not in firefighter mode. They're not putting out fires all day. They're just kind of like, the status quo. Everybody's comfortable. It's quiet. Everybody's doing their job. What happens if you have a tolerable culture is that people get comfortable and complacent. It's not a space you want to stay if you have a tolerable culture. That means, yeah, your teachers are doing their job. They might be getting some results, but they're not doing anything innovative. They're doing the same old strategies from 1913. Same old strategies. It's not okay to stay in a tolerable culture because no one wants to be tolerated. You don't want someone to say, oh, I just tolerate her. I just tolerate him. That is not affirmation. That's not a compliment. If I have a leader and they say, you know what, my culture is tolerable, that lets me know that one, they are not looking to be in that position long. This is what I call the buying time phase. So if your school is in a tolerable culture, I know the leaders are just buying time. They are just buying time. The goal is to always be striving to become top tier. And what does that look like? Well, once you become a top tier, you have a top tier culture. That means not only are the people doing what they're supposed to be doing, they are getting coached, they are giving feedback, they are receiving feedback, they are innovative, but also you have a solid succession plan. And a lot of leaders aren't there yet, and that's okay. That's okay. It takes time to get there. You may say, I just got in my position. You want me to have a succession plan already? No, but I want you to be, that's how I want you to think. Because that's the only way you're going to shift your culture. So thinking about, if I'm the principal, I should already be thinking about my succession plan. Yeah, you should. Because you can't have a top tier culture until you've actually reproduced more leaders behind you. Someone should be preparing to take your seat all the time. Even if you're an instructional coach, there should be a teacher that you know wants to be an instructional coach that you should be supporting and grooming and helping. Naming the fact that, you know what, I want to support you if that's their goal. Because they like to tussle on social media. Everybody don't want to be a leader. And everybody shouldn't be one either. They shouldn't be one. But for those that have that desire, you have a top tier culture when you start reproducing more leaders. When you're constantly have new assistant principals, new instructional coaches, or you as a principal, you're continuing to grow and backfilling your own role. That's when you know you have a top tier culture. Innovation is at the top of your list. You're always looking to do better and to grow and to innovate so that your students are excelling. And notice I did not say a top tier culture means all of your students are proficient. That's not what I never said that. And I know oftentimes people equate that with their culture, that their state test results determines the culture. And I disagree. I think that's a part of it. It's a result of. But for me, I don't believe that you can transform a school academically until you can transform the people that are serving in it. You have to transform the people. People have to want to work in your school, in your environment. You have to have the people. You got to have the right place. You got to have the performance. And then it leads to the purpose of why we're doing this work. It leads to the purpose. The people that I get to work with and serve, the school leaders, the aspiring leaders, they are learning how to navigate this so that they go home at a decent time every single night and sleep well. Their schools, all of them are not top tier yet, but they're moving in that direction. The ones that I work with and they were toxic, we don't stay there. We don't stay there. We're going to move you from toxic to tolerable. But we're not going to stay there either, because being tolerable means like you just tolerating people. That's not the business that we're in. That's not what we do. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you took something away from that. I've done the poll before, and I'm curious, just based off what I've shared. And you may not want to share in case you have some of your colleagues on, but think about it. Is your school in a state where it's a toxic culture? Or is it tolerable where you just buying time? It's like, I mean, it ain't the best, but it ain't the worst either. That's tolerable. Or is it, are you really moving to the point where it's top tier? Like we have succession plans. We know who our next leaders are. We're innovative. We're making gains across grade levels. Think about where do you fall. And then in each of those categories, remember the four dimensions of culture: the people, the place, the performance, and the purpose.